Hey, this is Pamela Riemenschneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Greg, you got out of the office. What's up?
On site, got into the sun. I'm coming to you from the PBH annual meeting in Scottsdale, Arizona. And this is the first PBH meeting since the merger with IFPA. So it definitely had a different feel. There were maybe a dozen IFPA people here, many of whom had never been to one of these conferences before. But it was all led by the PBH staff who came over with the merger. So, like Katie and Charisse. So, the normal folks. Yeah, it was a great meeting. It had the same energy as a lot of years.
Was there any insight into what the PBH plan is moving forward?
They did not talk about it on stage. This meeting was already in the works, and so it went forward. It seemed, and they confirmed it was pretty much run exclusively by the former PBH, current PBH staff, minus the executive leadership. But yeah, it had the same feel. It's unsure where this is going to go, honestly. I don't. They didn't announce plans for a meeting last year or next year, and as we know, they did not. IFPA is not doing Brandstorm this year, so I'm sure that PBH, now that it's part of IFPA, will be a huge part of IFPA's consumption raising focus. It just remains to be seen what that's going to look like, and if people know, they're not sharing it, at least at this point. Uh, More importantly, IFPA has been a big proponent, and this was part of their moonshot, working with bigger groups like the government and insurance companies about produce prescriptions and food as medicine. And that was a big part of this conference, the theme of what that looks like. We heard from retail dietitians who talked about the pilot programs that they're doing with food as medicine programs and produce prescriptions. And early signs are it's working well. They're getting grant funding for a lot of this stuff, and they are starting to prove that the ROI is there. And a lot of the dietitians said that their retail leadership is a big believer in this, and now they're starting to see that this will actually work. So I'm optimistic that this is a program that we'll see bigger, expanded throughout retail in North America. Several of the dietitians said, if you think about retailers and their place in health and wellness, how often do people go visit their doctor versus how often do they go to the grocery store?
That's true. That's very true. Back here in the news desk operations, I have Walmart pulling out of another metro area, but it's a little bit different. You reported last month, or was it the month back in February, you reported that Walmart was pulling all of its stores from the Portland city limits, and now they have come out with an official announcement. They are closing half of their stores in the Chicago city limits. Before that sounds super impressive. That's actually only 4 stores. They're leaving 4, but when I was doing my research for writing up a little something about it, it reminded me of how this is different than Portland. Portland was related to underperforming, but also crime. And, Chicago has its issues with crime, of course. But if you recall, back when I first started covering the produce industry and retail, Walmart had a huge, huge fight to open stores in Chicago. This was about 17 years ago. And they put in some stores, and the stores apparently came up against the Chicago problem. And the Chicago problem is fiercely independent retail. Big chains don't do well in Chicagoland. So it kind of, and the stores that they are closing are 3 neighborhood markets and a supercenter. And I wouldn't consider Neighborhood Market to be their most successful banner that they've got. Walmart's known for supercenters, right? And to put a Walmart Neighborhood Market
Sure.
against an Angelo Caputo's or a Pete's or any of those really well-known Chicago independents, they're not going to win. And Walmart has decided they are done spending tens of millions of dollars. None of those 4 stores collectively had turned a profit in 17 years. And in fact, they were losing
That's
tens of
amazing.
millions of dollars. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So they're still in the suburbs because Chicagoland is enormous outside the city limits.
Right. They are still in the suburbs, although they did recently close a store, I believe, and then a pickup only, but it was a pilot concept. Chicago is one of those markets where new retail concepts test the waters there. Amazon Fresh is one of them. Fresh Time Farmers Market opened its first stores in the Chicago area. And so a concept can flourish there, but it seems like within the city limits, Walmart Neighborhood Market was not a hit, and that zero surprise from me.
Well, at least it's a different story than Portland.
Yeah, it seems like a different story from Portland, although in 17 years, if Walmart can't make a profit in 17 years operating in a market, they are clearly not the right retailer for that market because retailers have come and gone. And Chicago has had a long history, especially over the last 10 years, of a lot of retail concepts opening and closing, and longtime retailers either selling out or flaming out. The only way Kroger has a foothold in Chicago is with Mariano's, and that was an independent. And so
Yeah.
it's it's a funny market, and to see Walmart pull out half of its stores, and they said that the other 4 stores are not doing that well, but they're going to see what they can do about keeping them open. And that's it for the Produce Reporter Week in Review. We did a little early this week just to catch you in Scottsdale at the PBH conference. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up.